Professor Lin, the pandemic has brought profound changes to the dynamic of economic development globally, but now many countries are considering fully liberalizing the control of the pandemic to boost their economic development. So, facing such pressure, do you think China's economic and pandemic prevention policies should be adjusted accordingly?
Well, so far we have to acknowledge the Chinese policy to contain, to cope with the pandemic has been quite effective. As you know, in 2020, China reached 2.3% growth rate, and China had the fastest growth rate among all the major economies. And last year, the GDP growth rate in China was 8.1%. Again, China was one of the highest growing countries in the world. And during this global pandemic, China can achieve that growth rate. It was remarkable, and it was a result of the effective policy to contain this pandemic. And certainly, further future, now and the future, China should adjust this policy. It depends on many things. The first one is whether the vaccination in China, in the world, can effectively contain this pandemic, this virus. And if that is the case, certainly we can relax this policy. But if not, I think that to have effective control is very important, because certainly this policy, we need to pay some cost. But this kind of zero tolerance policy, it will affect in small locations. In other part of the country, people can have very normal life, although some prevention is necessary. But in terms of life and production, China has already returned to normal. So certainly, I think we need to recognize the effectiveness of this policy, but China should also adapt its policy, depends on the risk and then revise according to the necessity. But overall, we need to acknowledge the policy so far allow the life in China to return to normal. The production in China basically return to normal, and to make the death rate the lowest in the world. So that should be acknowledged.
Professor Lin, China has set its new GDP target at around 5.5%, but days ago you predicted it is possible for China's economy to grow by 6% or more this year. Western media question that the new target has been set lower than China's potential. What's your take? Should China be more ambitious here?
Related to the growth target this year at 5.5%. And your question whether that is under the growth potential. I have been arguing China still has a growth potential of 8%. From here, up to 2035. But the growth potential is, considered from the technological possibility. And as I mentioned, technologically, China has the opportunity from the latecomers, and China also had the advantage in the short cycle new economies technological innovation. And based on this kind of advantages, I believe, and according to my research, China still has a growth potential of 8% per year up to 2035. But whether that to grow up to the potential also need to consider the demand side. And the demand side depends on domestic economic situation and global economic situation. And also need to take account the business cycle situation, and as well as the need to cope with the climate change and other social dimensions. So to have an 8% growth and to reach lower than 8% growth, I think it's a normal situation. That means China have enough room to maneuver within this growth potential. And for this year, to set at 5.5%, I think it's realistic because there's some kind of geopolitical risk. And as you understand, the commodity prices has been surging up and global growth rate may be affected. So in terms of the growth, to reach 5.5% around that, I think it's a realistic target. And there's a possibility to grow beyond 5.5%. And if the global situation or geopolitical risk has been controlled. But if this kind of situation getting worse, certainly the global economy, including the Chinese economy, will be adversely affected.